chalice for the light of hope, the fire of commitment, and the warmth of community.
Hello and welcome to River Road Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I'm Reverend Amanda Weatherspoon, your Minister for Justice and Community Building. Here at River Road, we are a community of fellowship, spirit, and service where we invite the fullness of who each of us are. If you're watching from the live Zoom party this morning, welcome. If you're listening to the podcast or watching the YouTube video later on, welcome to you as well. If you're new with us this morning and you'd like to find out more information about our community, feel free to visit our website at rruuc.org, where you'll find a full list of ministers and staff and ways to get a hold of us all. This month of May, we're moving into our spiritual theme of emergence, those opportunities to emerge and become in our lives and in the world around us. But for now, as we emerge into this morning and into this week, sit back, take a nice breath, perhaps grab your cup of coffee or your cup of hot tea, settle in, and come, let us worship together.
Good morning. Once upon a time, there was a family that did not have very much money, and they lived in a house in the neglected part of town. Who neglected that part of town? Powers that be. But the people that lived there did the best they could. They were a happy family, but times were hard and jobs grew scarcer and scarcer. And as time passed, the family grew sadder and sadder. And their sadness was visible on the outside of their house, too. The windows no longer gleamed. The garden was overrun with weeds, and the grass grew ankle deep. They tried to attend to these things, but their sadness always interrupted them. One day, to relieve his sadness, the oldest son went for a walk, and he came upon a market where people were selling all kinds of things. The activity was spirit lifting. He saw people buying fruits and vegetables, tempting cakes, and freshly baked bread, the scent of which erased his sadness, if just for a moment. And then he saw a stall of secondhand things, and hidden in the way, way back, he noticed a beautiful vase. He knew it was an extravagance. It cost all the money he had, but he bought it anyway. And as the stall keeper wrapped the vase in brown paper, she said, "Enjoy it, won't you? Take care of it. It is a magic vase." With these mysterious words ringing in his ears, he ran all the way home, and everyone was delighted with his purchase. After admiring the vase, his father then noticed how drab the living room had gotten and set about to painting it. When the brother saw the fresh coat of paint, he fetched a bucket of water and washed the windows, while the sister, looking out those windows, saw the weeds in the garden and how long the grass was, and set out to take care of both. After all of that was done, together they planted flower seeds and watered them lovingly all the spring long. When summer came, they gathered those blossoms into a bouquet and they placed it in the magic vase that their mother kept on the dining room table. And to her they said, "We love you." And their mother cried with joy. Just what was the power, the magic power of that vase? I asked some river roaders this week that question in a different way. I asked them that if they had a magic vase, what would they want to fix? Chloe said friendships, especially those that are broken and needed mending, while one fourth grader said the magic was needed to heal abject poverty and COVID-19. And another offered, well, maybe the magic could help fix the president. Another reminded that what needs to be made better is all of our knowledge of the universe and everything in it. Oh, for the magic of that vase. Me, I think the vase had the magic to remind. The vase reminded the family what really mattered. The vase reminded them how powerful is the love that they had for each other. And the vase reminded them that loving each other includes loving the world enough to fix whatever needs fixing. That's the magic.
Welcome in the midst of it all to a community that responds to the times we are given with grace and with great love. As always, there is so much happening in the life of our congregation, which you can find out more about in our e-weekly newsletter on the website. But there are a few things I wanted to highlight for you today by way of announcements. Firstly, that the all congregation retreat is up and running online. I hope you had a great time showing off at the talent show on Friday, and know that you can keep up with all the programming we have to offer each Saturday as the retreat goes on. Here at the end of our stewardship campaign, I am delighted to say that we are concluding our efforts with over $900,000 of pledges 35 new and returning pledgers, and evidence of your astonishing generosity. We have also been approved after a long and thoughtful process for a low-interest payroll protection program loan from the federal government that should help see us through in continued fiscal health here at the end of the congregational year and beyond. Our finance leaders have been tireless in their efforts on our collective behalf, and their partnership with me in these times is something that I will truly never forget and never stop being grateful for. You can find out more about the budget and the congregation's ongoing fiscal projections in the town hall meetings leading up to the annual meeting in June. But know that we have much to be grateful for, even in these very complicated times. Speaking of things to be grateful for, we welcomed 5 new members to our congregation just last Sunday morning. Always know that there is a place for you in this community, a community that is made and remade by every single thing that we bring to it. If you're interested in finding out more about membership or about getting connected here at River Road, please feel free to email me or our membership assistant, Nan Posen. You can drop us a quick line to get added to the email list. Finally, it is annual meeting season, and we will need you in June as we lay out a bold vision for our ministry together in the next year, including a congregation-wide commitment to environmental stewardship that can shape us all as we move forward together. We need your voice, your vote, and your presence as we shape our vision. We come together in the midst of so much, joys and sorrows, deep loss, and the delight that arrives even when we least expect it. For all that you bring into this space with you, you are welcome here on this Mother's Day morning. As my kids watch videos and build Legos in the background, as your families are near and far away, as the people you love are gathered together, or through the screen saying hello to the friends you hold most dear, we are all welcome here, reflecting on the blessing of those of every identity and every background who take good care of us. Our meditation today from the Reverend Dr. Victoria Weinstein, for those who mother. We reflect in thanksgiving on this day for all those who have nurtured our lives, for the life-giving ones who heal with their presence, who listen in sympathy, who give wise advice, but only when asked for it. We are grateful for all those who have mothered us, who have held us gently in times of sorrow, who celebrated with us our triumphs, no matter how small, who noticed when we changed and grew, who praised us for taking risks, who took genuine pride in our successes, and who expressed genuine compassion when we did not succeed. On this day that honors mothers, let us honor all the nurturers, all the generous souls who from somewhere in their being have freely and wholeheartedly given life and sustenance and vision to us. Dear God, Creator, Spirit, grant us each life-giving ways, strength for nurturing, and the creativity to birth something new, so that we might take attentive care of those precious beings entrusted to us by biology or destiny or friendship or fellowship or fate. Give us all a mothering heart today. May it be so, and amen.
A word that comes to heart when I think about River Road during these times is gratitude. Gratitude for the ways in which we show up for each other, gratitude for the ways that we adapt, and gratitude for the ways that we give. Each week during our service, we have an opportunity to be in this gratitude with one another, building our community together. And during our virtual services, there are many ways to give at River Road. Once again, you can go to our website at rruuc.org/giving and visit our giving page. There you'll find information on how to give in a variety of ways, whether you want to mail something to the physical building, if you want to give online, or even if you want to text to give. The text to give number is 73256. That's 73256 plus RRUUC and the amount. However you give, whenever you give, and wherever you give, please know that these gifts go a long way at River Road to building the community for each one of us, for our world. Please give as you're willing and able.
Help me take my life less seriously.
You know, there are only 2 Sundays every year that I usually try to schedule myself out of the pulpit. There are really only two that I tend to avoid for better or for worse. One of those Sundays is the blessing of the animals, because even though it's beautiful and it is important and I love it, the whole thing makes me nervous. And the other Sunday, the one that I just usually do not want to preach, is always the Sunday on which Mother's Day falls. Mostly because, shall I admit it, I don't really like Mother's Day. The whole thing has all these highly gendered cashmere twin set Betty Crocker overtones to it, and you are not going to catch me wearing a corsage made of pink carnations unless, of course, my children got it for me, in which case I would wear it anyway and smile because I'm not a monster. But still, though I personally am blessed with a great mother, and I am doubly blessed to spend so much of my life nurturing two glorious kids, I struggle with the whole concept of Mother's Day. Perhaps now more than ever, when the traditional gendered conception of motherhood is more at the center of my life than usual. After all, I would be hard pressed to remember a time when I spent so much of the average day cleaning, cooking, and folding laundry as I do in these COVID times. The traditional conceptions of what mothering means are everywhere in my days right now, and I will confess, when it comes to some of those traditionally gendered tasks that society tells us mothers do, I'm over it. Not the vacuuming. That's very satisfying, but the management, the sheer manual labor, the hands and knees on bathroom floors, the mediation of fights, oh Lord, the mediation of fights, I'm over it. Which is not to say that I am over mothering or being a mother. Which is not to say that the blessings do not abound. It is not to say that this Mother's Day finds me ungrateful for all who mothered me, who nurture me still. It is just to say that I think it is very important that we praise those who mother, not for what traditional patriarchal society tells us the task of nurturing entails, but for what the work actually is. Work that all of us, no matter our gender identity or our family structure might be, no matter if our houses are full of tiny, sticky hands or quiet in the afternoon with the luminous rays of the sunlight peeking through the window and no voice but the computer to crackle out into the silence. Yes, work that all of us can do. Because perhaps mothering, nurturing, real mothering separate from all the stereotypes is as powerful a metaphor for what matters right now in these times as any other. These are the days when each of us is asked to bear a heavy weight of responsibility. Responsibility for our own lives, our own choices, our priorities and dreams and values and responses in the midst of a crisis. And yet these are also days in which many of us have never felt quite so unable to control our circumstances. Enormous responsibility, so little control. Those are markers of our days right now. And I can tell you, that hands down nothing else in my life has ever given me so much responsibility as mothering, and nothing else in my life has ever more powerfully convinced me that I am not in control. And it occurs to me that what matters in nurturing each other, what matters in mothering outside of all of the stereotypical contexts, what matters is the willingness to bear up under the sheer weight of responsibility while never allowing oneself the illusion that you are in charge. After all, as Khalil Gibran teaches us, your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters, the beloved siblings of life's longing for itself. And there is nothing we can do to control the world for them or to control them as they meet that world. We are, as nurturers, all of us loosened, vulnerable, fragile in our grip, and mothering, real mothering, the nurturing that deserves to be praised. I think it is really fundamentally about the spiritual practice of being responsible and powerless at the exact same time. Just that. So what matters now? Now more than ever? What matters today and in the weeks to come and on this Mother's Day? The spiritual practice of being deeply responsible for the nurturance of the world, of each other, of our own hearts, while simultaneously experiencing what it is to be powerless before it all. Somehow what matters now is saying yes to it all, even so, especially when we can't control it, when we can't fix it, when we can't make it safe, when we cannot point the arrow where we imagined we wanted it to go. Some of you know, Lord knows that the worship staff knows it all too well, know that I love folk and old-timey country music. So anytime you hear something with a twang played in our sanctuary, chances are it came right off of my playlist. And John Prine, that amazing folk country artist who passed away this spring from COVID-19, he's long been a kind of spiritual guru for me. You see, when John Prine was young, he wrote beautiful songs about getting old. And when he was old, he wrote raucous and irreverent songs about being young. And I have loved him for that, among other things. And about 20 years ago, John Prine was diagnosed with a squamous cell cancer in his neck that almost killed him. The doctor assumed a very serious affect with much gravitas, while telling him, "John, you will never sing again." To which John Prine promptly quipped, "Doc, you've never heard me sing." Because of course, his voice was never exactly as clear as a bell. He always rasped, and victory for him was not singing perfectly on the other side, not even staying in tune. No, victory for him was singing from the heart the words that he had to say, saying yes to life and the voice and the music and the circumstances that remained within the confines of that life and no other. No other voice, no other circumstance, no other story, no other song. That's what matters now. And that is what matters in the true work of nurturing each other. Saying yes to life, to the emerging edge, to all that is unfolding. Mothering is fundamentally about bearing witness to the emerging edge of lifetimes. It is knowing that we cannot shield each other's emerging lives, nor manage them, nor control them. Mothering is about saying yes, even when we are at our most vulnerable, most powerless, most imperfect. Because these lives that are emerging all around us, these lives of our children, our loved ones, ourselves, these are the only lives we are given to bear witness to, even when we do not sing with the angels' voices, even when our children do not get into Harvard or even make it through the hardest night. What matters most in mothering, in nurturing, is in fact what matters most to all of us right now. It is saying yes to life on life's own terms. In the words of one of the Western world's greatest philosophers, I want to learn more and more to see as beautiful that which is necessary in things. Then I shall be one of those who make things beautiful, and all in all and on the whole someday I wish to be only a yay-sayer. That's right, a yay-sayer. Not a naysayer, a yay-sayer, and you are going to think that that is a hopelessly cheesy and a silly thing to quote until I tell you who wrote it. Friedrich Nietzsche. Yes, that Nietzsche, the one who proclaimed that God is dead and whom everybody thinks is so super depressing. He said that someday, on the whole, in a world with no mechanisms that cause it all to make sense, in a world with no finely orchestrated plan being worked out all around us, in this world as it is, he wished to be a yay-sayer to what life brings. A yay-sayer to life on life's terms. Mothering, parenting, nurturing. It is about seeing what is in bud, what is still blossoming, not just in our children, but in ourselves and in the world. It is about siding with the forming edge of what emerges when we are not in control, and yet still we are willing to commit ourselves to shaping a more beautiful world for the people we love. I am over a lot of things right about now. I am over the bathroom cleaning. I am over the fact that one of my kids sitting behind me just got up and flushed the toilet in the middle of my recording my sermon. I am kind of over preaching sermons into the computer in the first place. The whole idea of wearing makeup, I am over that. And most of the traditional understandings of what the patriarchy would tell us it means to be a mother, I have been over for some time. But I am not over the invitation to side with the emerging edge of something new as it bursts forth in the lives of those I love and in my life. I am not over the deep responsibility of stepping up to nurture the possibilities that arise, even and especially when I cannot control them. I am not over any of that. And I am grateful today and every day for each and every one of us who help each other say yes to life on life's own terms. Happy Mother's Day, y'all. Don't buy me a corsage, but know that you are loved, not for who anybody else thinks you ought to be, but for all that you are and for all that you are becoming. And now, may the truth that makes us free, the love that casts out fear, and the hope that never dies, guide us and those we love and those whom no one loves forward together to the and the shadows flee away. Amen.
Yonder come day, day is a breaking. Yonder come day.